There are many members of the Volvo S60 family like this S60 R design with ride height down and power up for higher performance. It's the sporty and athletic one, and it's a hoot. Or the original S60 from this current generation, which launched a few years back. It's a jack of all trades and a car beautiful to drive in virtually all conditions. Now there's the S60 Drive E with updated looks and a unique 4-cylinder that's supercharged and turbocharged to turn out big power and big efficiency. The Volvo S60 is probably my favorite luxury car because it's fantastic to drive in the snow, luxurious without being glitzy, has very comfortable seats, flies visually under the radar, and has a great cabin that looks like nothing else on the road. Here's a car that does its own thing where styling and attitude are concerned. It's discreetly luxurious, potent and confident, and doesn't scream for attention or make fellow motorists wonder if you have a collection of designer man scarves.
Now, all of those S60 model variants are compelling luxury car choices for various reasons. There is another S60 variant now. I've got one here today, and it's a little weird. Let's take a look.
This is the Volvo S60 Cross Country. Think S60 and a pair of Morel hikers and you're in the ballpark. It's 2.5 inches higher from the ground, has plastic fender flares and skid plates underneath, and that's it. Otherwise, it's just a normal S60, so it's sort of like an off-road sedan or a sport utility vehicle with the body of a car. And that makes it sort of an odd-looking fella. Jacked up and rugged like you'd expect from an SUV, but sleek and swoopy like you'd expect from a premium car. No one's done a car like this since years and years ago when you could get a Subaru Outback as a sedan. But maybe there's a reason we don't see vehicles like this anymore. Maybe a car crossover combination leaves you with a machine that's not a fantastic car or a fantastic crossover.
So what's the point? Well, I don't know, and I've been driving this car for a week. This has been a challenging review, to be honest, since they've taken one of my favorite cars and made it sort of odd. If you need extra ride height or to tackle some trails, you usually buy a crossover sport ute. And if you need a luxurious and upscale car-like drive, well, you usually buy a car. Now, combining a car and a crossover leaves you with some benefits, but also some compromises.
I guess the extra ride height makes this S60 Cross Country easier to get in and out of, though if I'm honest, I personally don't notice the difference during boarding and exiting much at all. I like the extra ground clearance. I can drive this S60 down these trails where I usually take small crossovers and not worry much about bottoming out or ripping off the nose. There's the uniqueness too, I suppose. Some shoppers want something different, something their friends and family haven't seen and are unlikely to own. So if you're after a really one-of-a-kind niche vehicle that's relatively affordable, the S60 Cross Country might make sense. It sure is unique looking, and actually Volvo is selling a good number of these for that very reason. But other than that, I don't really see why you wouldn't just buy a crossover sport ute, maybe like this XC70 Cross Country. You'd have more room. The S60 Cross Country doesn't have a cargo hold in the back, just a trunk, and it's a small one at that. This big flat panel covers up the spare tire, which chews up plenty of space. But here's the plus side. Other than the reduced trunk space, unique styling touches, and elevated ride height, this is still very much an S60 at its core. The interior is the same, comfy seats, unique designs, and that customizable instrument cluster with various themes and interesting trim materials throughout. And it still rides and drives like an S60 too. Heavy and confident steering, a nice locked-on feel at highway speeds, and good powerful brakes. The added ride height hasn't diminished handling much either. They seem to have stiffened and tightened up the suspension carefully. You still get pleasing handling responses and a feel that's pretty athletic, and you really only notice the added ride height when you're really pushing it in some corners, though the retuned suspension is a little harsher and noisier here. And as smart and fast acting as the S60's all-wheel drive system is on slippery roads, it's pretty good at finding traction on light off-road trails too. Icy hills, not a problem with these fantastic Michelin Excise winter tires on. The all-wheel drive system reacts fast and virtually seamlessly when a loss of traction is detected. On light to moderate trails, I had no issues with grip. A full suite of hazard detection systems is also on board, further boosting confidence. This S60 Cross Country can alert you if you're drowsy, apply its own brakes to prevent certain accidents, and alert you of a multitude of possible hazards in the world around you. And in typical Volvo fashion, you get a great safety feature up front, powerful xenon headlamps with steerable projectors and a washer system. So though it's weird looking, a little less refined in the ride department and shorter on cargo space, the S60 Cross Country is still by and large a Volvo S60, which is a good thing. 5 in a row makes her go with an intercooled turbocharger to dial up the low and mid-range thrust. This inline 5 makes 250 horses, comes with a 6-speed automatic, and performs adequately and with a unique tone and above-average smoothness almost no matter how it's driven. It's a great all-purpose engine, smooth, versatile, and punchy when needed. Mileage on my watch landed at 10.2 liters per 100 clicks of regular grade gas. That's reasonable given the all-wheel drive and power level available. So let's sum up this rolling Swedish identity crisis, shall we? You'll like the uniqueness, the excellent low traction driving dynamics, the added ride height and ground clearance, and probably the exclusivity of driving something you're not going to see on the road that often. Some drivers will wish for a smoother ride, more cargo space, and the styling, well, it's definitely not for everyone. End of the day, if you're set on owning the most unique variant of the S60 available and you're okay with giving up a little bit of ride quality and an awful lot of cargo space in exchange for added ride height and ground clearance, the S60 Cross Country is worth a look. If you're not up for those compromises, the standard S60 sedan and perhaps the more logical XC70 Cross Country are available for less money too. S60 Cross Country starts a little under $50,000. Thanks for watching.